Hey everyone, it's Keely here for Soy and Shea, and thank you so much for joining me for another soap making video. Now, when I did my fragrance oil order from the fragrance shed of the Nature's Garden fragrances, one of the ones that really sort of captured me was bamboo and white grapefruit, and several people actually suggested that I get it in as well. It sounded really complex, but a really nice, bright, zesty, but green fragrance. It's got notes of mandarin, tangerine, white grapefruit, there's some mimosa, there's juniper, a bit of bamboo, and some musk. But when I got this bottle of fragrance oil in and first smelt it, it really didn't inspire me at all. Usually when I smell a fragrance, an image of a soap pops into my head and I note it down and then proceed to make it. With this particular fragrance oil, I just could not picture what I wanted to do with it at all, and I couldn't even really see it in things like body scrubs and moisturizers and that sort of thing. But this week I decided it was time I actually use this fragrance oil, so I picked what colours I was going to use, and as I proceeded to make the soap, I really had absolutely no idea what I was going to do in terms of pouring. All I knew is that I'd had the grapefruit pieces made up, and the day before making it, I decided I wanted some bamboo on there as well, so I made some little bamboo pieces, and then I just went for it. So come along and see how I make my bamboo and white grapefruit soap. Let's go. So let's get to making this soap. Now with this fragrance oil, I feel that it is very light in smell. I've had people tell me that it is a strong one and that it holds well. I'm not smelling it too strongly, so I've decided I'm going to put about a tablespoon of kaolin clay into my mix just to try and help anchor that fragrance into this particular soap. What I'm going to do is just blend that into my oils. I'm then going to pour my lye water solution into my bucket here. I'll mix it up to emulsion, and then I'm going to split it out for some colours, as we always do. Okay, so the colours I am using today into this pot here, I have some Tuscan Sun. I'm going to pour off a fair bit for the yellow just to represent the grapefruit. Into this container here I have got some jade mica, and that will be to kind of represent the bamboo, and usually because bamboo and jade, I actually associate those two colours together, so that's why I went for that shade of green. And then in this one I have got in some olive grove mica, and that's because usually when I see bamboo stalks, they're this darker sort of green. Now I don't want as much of this one as I want as the other two, and I will be keeping some back to do the top of the soap as well. Let's get all of that dribble off of there, and then into my big bucket here I am going to put in some titanium dioxide. I'm going to start by hand stirring my mica colours in, and then I'll stick blend the titanium dioxide in to get that into a nice white colour. Now I did have a question about why I don't put my fragrance oil into my big bucket before I split it out into my colours. And that is because quite often I'm working with fragrance oils where I'm not sure how they'll actually behave once they hit the soap, the actual soap batter. So by doing it this way, it gives me that little bit more working time to be able to mix in my colours well by actually pouring in my fragrance afterwards. Now the other thing I also have, even though I do have fragrances like my lavender, which I work with often, I do have a couple of fragrances that sometimes when I soap with them in, say, winter, it keeps my batter nice and fluid. And then if I try soaping with that exact same fragrance oil in the heat of summer, my soap just accelerates. So it really depends upon the actual season as to how I treat my different fragrance oils and what sort of pour I'm going to do. Now normally when I smell a fragrance oil, I pretty much immediately have an image pop into my head of how I actually picture the soap. When I smelt this fragrance oil, even though I had such high hopes for it, as I said, I was really disappointed with how it smelt. So I have really been struggling with what to do with this particular soap design. So I did manage to work out how I wanted my tops to look, but I'm still undecided as to how I'm going to end up pouring these colours into the mould. So we might end up doing maybe a bit of it in the pot or in a drop swirl, or I really don't know yet. So I'm going to get these mixed in. I'm then going to add the fragrance oil, and then I will blend it, and I'll probably give it a quick blend with the stick blender just to make sure that it is nicely dispersed in there. So two things with this fragrance is that it has actually thinned out my batter just a little bit, so that is pretty good. And the other thing is, as soon as it hit this soap butter, those sort of more citrus smells really popped out to me. What I think I am going to do is in the pot swirl in my yellow, and I'm going to keep, as I said, some of this green for piping on the top of the soap. It's probably a little bit too much. That looks a lot better. So I'll pop that over to one side. What I am now going to do is grab my mold here, and I'm going to start by pouring in a good portion of this white. And then, sorry, I am still thinking about how to actually pour this one. I am now going to go in with my green. I'm going to run up and down with that one. I'm going to come over to my yellow, which has got that in the pot swirl. I'm going to pour that one in there. I'm then going to come back to my green again. Pour some more of that one in. I will save a little bit of this just to really jazz up the top as well. Alright, we'll pour the rest of this yellow. And again, I'm going to keep whatever's left in there just to add to the top. And then just because I can, I noticed this week that Aussie Soap Supplies have the Brambleberry soap hanger swirl, and I thought, why not treat myself to that rather than my coat hanger? So I got myself the Brambleberry hanger swirl. So let's put the hanger through there. That's a lot more easier to use than my great big coat hanger, but I've still got the coat hanger sitting up there on the side just in case. Alright, let's finish getting these poured in. So I'm going to finish adding my white to the top there. We're getting nice and full. I have actually done this so I will get a nice high top soap to put all these embeds onto. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a shuffle. It is very nice and fluid, which is really good for this fragrance, and I am actually getting a lot more of those sort of tangerine and grapefruit smells out of it now. What I'm going to do is just very carefully scrape out my bucket and start getting a nice higher top on the top of this soap. So our pots are now all scraped out, and what I'm going to do is just move my spoon over the top just to give it a little bit of texture here so we can put our embeds onto the top of it. Now I actually can't get over the actual transformation of this fragrance now that it's in the soap. It really has come to life. The best way for me to kind of explain this fragrance, if you've not smelt it before, is, to me, it smells almost like one of those really nice citrus, what do you call them, washing softness sort of things like Huggies and that sort of stuff. I don't know if that's a worldwide brand, but you know, the liquid stuff that you put into your washing machine to make your clothes smell really nice and to actually soften them back up. That's what it smells like. It's got that sort of clean citrus smell with that underlying greenery that makes it just feel really, really clean. So I'm really pleased with how that has come up, especially seeing as I really was struggling with this fragrance, but I think now that this is going to be really good once it's finished. Before I get my embeds onto this, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a really good spritz on the top with some Blizzard mica. So let's just knock that down to get it going. That's better. So I want this to go really nice and shiny and glistering for me. So I'll come in from this end as well. Just make sure that that is nicely coated. And I also feel that this one needs just a little bit of extra sparkle. So we have got some of the biodegradable holographic glitter here from Aussie Soap Supplies. And I'm just giving that a really generous sprinkle down the top. Might just get a little bit more, why not? And then we can get to putting the embeds on. Okay, so the first embed we are going to put on are some of these grapefruit pieces that we made in the behind the scenes video this week, and I'll leave a link for you up in the top right hand corner there. Each bar is going to get a piece. We're going to turn this around so it actually faces me as I do this, and I'm going to start by putting, I'm pretty sure I've got them down the right size, I do. I'm just going to start by putting one piece on each of these soaps, going all the way down. So actually, do I want them that way? It would be such a shame after all that work we've done to put in the rind and the fruit and then to actually hide the rind in the soap. So I'm going to pick that one back up. I will go and pop that. I'm just looking for somewhere safe to put it for now, so I'll pop it there. And then we'll pop another piece back on there. So I've decided I want it so you can see the yellow skins and the flesh in the middle, just because we worked so hard to actually create these ones. So in we go. So who here actually likes grapefruits? They're one of those fruits that people either love them or they absolutely hate them. I really love grapefruits. I have ever since I was a young girl as well. I always used to think it was so sophisticated to have a chopped up or a grapefruit that had been cut in half, and then Mum used to have this special knife that she used to run around it and then segment all the pieces, and she'd put a sprinkling of sugar on it as well. And that was about the only time I ever had sugar on breakfast, was if I had grapefruit. Never had it on cereals. But I always used to think it was such a sophisticated breakfast to actually have. And then when I actually moved out of home, I searched high and low for one of these grapefruit knives so that I could continue to have grapefruit for breakfast as an adult in my own home. Okay, so all of our grapefruit pieces are on now, and I do have one other embed to put on, and that is these little pieces here. These are what I'm hoping to look like pieces of lucky bamboo, and to create them I used this little machine. So I got some soap dough and I filled up the little cylinder here, put my end on, and I just twisted it until I got this long piece of soap come out. Then I broke it up and just put a little bit of a twist in it, and I've left them to sit here and dry out. And hopefully these will actually look a little bit like pieces of lucky bamboo, and that's why I saved some of the piping, because I'll be able to pipe a couple of leaves on here too. Alright, so for my bamboo, what I'm going to do is pop them on to this side of the soap, and I'm just going to put one stem into each of the soaps here, just across from the grapefruit. Just the way I was standing there, it looked like they weren't lined up, but they are. So let's go down there. It looks like one of these is actually broken, so I'll have to see what I can do to fix that up. We'll turn that piece over so we've got the longer piece going into the soap, and I've just got them so that they're resting on top of the soap, so it will make it easy to actually package these at the end. What I'm going to do with this piece, because it is actually broken, this end piece will actually be my little soap, I think, because I still want to put my piece of bamboo on there. And what I'm now going to do is I'm going to take the green that I've put aside into the piping bag, and I've got just a very simple leaf tip in there, and I am just going to add some leaves onto my bamboo here. And I was hoping that this would be a slightly darker shade of green, but it's looking a bit pale. Maybe as it sits and saponifies overnight, it might actually brighten up a little bit, but we'll just go with what we've got here. So I'm just going to pop a couple of leaves onto each of these pieces of bamboo here. I absolutely love Lucky Bamboo. Just unfortunately, I can't grow the stuff. I don't know what I do wrong, because everyone says it is so easy to grow and to keep and all that sort of thing. And you see people at the market selling them and they just look absolutely amazing. And I get home these really healthy looking plants. I'm just going to give this a quick spray with some rubbing alcohol. But I get home these really healthy looking plants, and within a couple of months I somehow managed to kill them all off. I do what people tell me in terms of watering them and all that sort of thing, but just for some reason I cannot get Lucky Bamboo to grow. Do any of you guys have success with Lucky Bamboo? And if so, what are your tips and tricks to actually getting it to grow for you? I've done it so that I've had them in water, I've had them in soil, I've had them in a rock base with water. It just doesn't matter what I do. They just never ever survive. The last piece that I got, it's on its kind of last legs. I felt so sorry for it. I ended up putting it outside on my balcony in a pot just to try and get it to survive a little bit more. I've had them in sunny spots. I've had them in shaded spots. I just cannot get Lucky Bamboo to do what everyone else seems to get it to do. So I'm trying to get these leaves to be long, because usually on bamboo they are quite long, and I'm trying to get them to also stick to this soap. Hopefully they all will when it comes time to chop them. What I might do is just actually stick them down into the soap a little bit more, so that those leaves have got the soap, like the actual bar of soap, to hang on to as well. That will actually help to keep them. That will also mean when it comes time to packaging these, they won't get knocked off. So let's pop some more leaves on here. Alright, so I am so happy with how this soap is actually coming up. I really had absolutely no idea how I was going to do this one. I have been trying this year to draw out patterns for my soap of, you know, little pictures and diagrams, and trying to actually plan them out a little bit more. This has been one of those fragrances. I've had the piece of paper with the name of the fragrance on it and the description and everything else sitting there since I first got these fragrances in, and it's still pretty much blank. I had managed to work out the colours, as I said, but the rest of the whole design of how to pour and that sort of thing, that really has just been as I've started soaping. We'll see what we end up with. So I am very keen to get this one cut open so we can see what sort of swirls we've got on the inside. This green that I am putting on here now, it should actually change colour as it saponifies overnight. So I'm not too worried that it is a completely different green at the moment. We are almost at the end here. So what I'm then going to do is give this one a spritz with some rubbing alcohol, and then I am going to bring you down for a close-up look of our grapefruit and bamboo. So here is bamboo and white grapefruit up close. I am loving how this has come together, considering up until a couple of days ago I had absolutely no idea how I was going to tackle this soap. I had worked out I needed the grapefruit pieces, but it was only about 2 days ago that I worked out I was going to do the bamboo pieces as well. I love how you can actually see through the clear melt and pour of these grapefruit pieces and see the green soap underneath as well. I'm going to leave these sit here overnight, and then we're going to come back tomorrow and we are going to have a look and see what swirls we've got on the inside. Okay, so I am back to cut open the bamboo and white grapefruit soap. I'm a little bit disappointed. This is one of those really rare occasions where the green has not morphed back to what it should be. The stems of these of these bamboos were done using the olive grove mica, but for some reason the leaf has stayed this really pale mint green, which is really, really unusual. But oh well, it's all on there now, and there's not much we can do, but you still get that sort of impression that it is bamboo leaves on the top of here. It is smelling really good. It is strong. It's still not quite as I expected the fragrance to be, with all those zesty sort of citrus notes. It is, to me, it's a very washing detergent clean sort of smell. I mean, that probably sounds really bad, but it actually is quite nice. But that is probably going to be the best way for me to actually describe the smell of this one. I had so much hope for this fragrance, but I don't think I would actually redo this smell again. I am going through this one. Some of the lemons have been chopped just a little bit, but all of my bamboo remains intact. Let's see what swirl we've got on the inside. Alright, so let's grab this piece from off the end and take a peek inside. And that is absolutely stunning in there. I really like how the yellow and the green have been doing that in the pot swirl with them. You kind of almost end up with 3 colours in there. So you've got the yellow, the green, and then another sort of yellowy green in between. And then we've got this really nice bright jade green in there as well. I am absolutely loving how delicate the swirl is in there, and that is the top of our soap with a little piece of grapefruit. Did I call it lemon before? I can't remember, but loving that piece of grapefruit on the top and that translucent flesh on it, and then the piece of bamboo as well. That is so pretty how that's come up. Considering I really had absolutely no idea for a design on this one, I am so pleased with that swirl. Really loving that new hanger swirl as well. It's given some real interesting patterns into this one, and it is still smelling really, really nice as well. Get this next piece out of here. So they all are pretty much the same with that really pretty swirl. It's kind of reminding me of peacock feathers. I'd have to see if I could do that again using maybe some blues and purples and get more of a peacock sort of swirl in there. I'm really, really, really pleased with how this has come together. And it's interesting how the lighter green has kind of separated from that brighter green on this side when I actually poured them all over the mould, like up and down on each side of the mould. So it's really interesting how the actual colours behave sometimes in soaps and how they separate out. Alright, I'm going to grab a piece from a little bit further down here to see if we've got anything different, and the swirls are actually different towards the end here. We've got more of a white gap in the middle, and the greens have kind of all melded together, whereas as I said, on these ones, the greens seem to have separated on either side. I am so pleased with how this has actually come together. Sometimes it's really good to actually just make a soap without any sort of idea in mind. Just start actually making the soap. It is so much fun to do it that way, just to see exactly what sort of look you'll end up with at the end. I really do hope you have enjoyed watching how I make this bamboo and white grapefruit soap. If you did, why not leave me a thumbs up and any comments down below. If you've got any questions, I will certainly get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And until the next video, I hope you have a good one, and I will see you then. Bye.